Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's live broadcast, A Lab on Your Skin Biosensing Programmable Temporary Tattoos, presented by Carlos Olguin, founder and CEO of LogicInk. I am Marjorie Torres of LabRoots, and I'll be your moderator for today's event. We are delighted to bring you this educational web seminar presented by LabRoots. LabRoots is a leading scientific social networking website and producer of educational virtual events and webinars. Before we begin, I would like to remind everyone that this event is interactive. We encourage you to participate by submitting as many questions as you want at any time you want during the presentation. Just click on the green Q&A button located in the lower left of the presentation window and type your question into the box that appears on the screen. We'll answer as many questions as we have time for at the end of the presentation. Also, please notice that you will be viewing the presentation in the slide window. To enlarge the window, just click on the screen icon located on the lower right. If you have trouble seeing or hearing the presentation, please click on the support button at the top right of the presentation window, or use the Q&A button to let us know that you're having a problem. This presentation is educational and thus offers continuing education credits. Please click on the button in the bottom left corner and follow the process to obtain your credits. Please join me in welcoming Carlos Olguin. I will now turn the presentation over to him.
Thank you, Marge, and thank you to LabRoots for inviting us to give this talk. This is a very short talk, by the way. We are in the process of making a bigger announcement later this year, and until then, this is more of a teaser, but I hope you will find it interesting. So today, you may agree with me that the market for health monitoring devices is highly fragmented, and many critical sensors are not available or only exist in a laboratory setting. What does exist commercially tends to be bulky, expensive, and invariably requires the use of additional electronic devices. All this makes for a multi-sensing wearable experience that is impractical or unaffordable for many people. Yes, many people want to learn more about their bodies to live a healthier and longer life. That's exactly the challenge that we're trying to address at LogicInk. Let me move to the next slide. In a way, we're looking to continue to expand the current state of health monitoring. We at LogicInk are creating a low-friction, design-oriented wearable platform. We think of ourselves as building a future where people experience sensing technology every day, privately or socially, being both a conduit of health awareness, but also of self-expression. We think that this approach allows us to capture a significantly larger market and user demographic when compared to the current state of wearable sensing devices. So what we do? So we make electronics-free wearables that are non-invasive and change in shape or color to alert you of a condition of interest in your body or in the surrounding environment. Let me move to the next slide. The applications that one can derive from the sensing of sweat, skin volatiles, skin microbiome, or from the surrounding environment are really limitless. As the number of sensors and users grow, we also imagine being able to produce a high degree of personalization, targeting conditions of interest based on a person's unique physiology or lifestyle choices, and again, the surrounding environment. This slide just gives you a small sample of the thousands of molecules and conditions that can be sensed from one's body or the surrounding environment. In a way, we're trying to create our long-term vision is about creating this body/world IO platform, almost like a second skin, if you will. So without sharing too much at this point, I'll exemplify one of the wearable sensors that we developed in the past. The video should play out in a second. Let's see. This work shows. This work was done in the summer of 2015, and it was done in great part by one of our founding advisors, called Danilo, who's a professor at Columbia right now, and at that time he was working full-time with our company, at that time called BioInk. So this video shows the progression of the development of the first, or what we think is the first electronics-free wearable alcohol biosensor. To give you a bit of background about the relevance of this work, alcohol is the fourth leading preventable cause of death in the United States. Roughly, 20% of college students meet the criteria for an alcohol use disorder. This is all coming from NIH. So it's in a way, it's important to come up with solutions that are not just about, enabling police officers or court orders to have higher scrutiny over people who already pass the threshold and are being, probed, but instead, and this is in general part of our vision at LogicInk, it's all about empowering people before something happens, making them more aware of the impact of their lifestyle choices in their health and in general as they try to, again, live a healthier life moving forward. So that's what we're trying to do with this wearable at that time. It was a proof of concept that we submitted to NIH. The video passed very quickly, but I can say roughly that initially, I'll play, I don't know if I can play it again. I'll just move back and forth, and then it should play again. So it first shows the calibration of the ink compositions to show a colorimetric readout when exposed to alcohol concentrations well below DUI levels, mimicking the concentrations found in your own sweat when you drink. It later shows the calibrated ink composition directly on the skin and later in a temporary tattoo form factor. As I mentioned before, the prototype was submitted to NIH for the first wearable alcohol biosensor challenge. They tested and validated the prototype. That definitely means that somebody has to get drunk at NIH. And we want an honorable mention, being, again, the only electronics-free submission. Everybody else was focused on electronics-dependent devices. So we're really happy about this work. It's not our first product to market. It's not about what we're going to make a big announcement later this year. But it gives you some ideas. It's work that was published. That's why we're also sharing this, at least published by NIH in terms of being one of the finalists. And I hope that gives you a little bit of an insight about, one, the vision of what LogicInk aims to achieve, and two, a very specific example of how this could look like in the future. I'll leave you with this last slide about our vision, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Carlos, for that informative presentation. We will now start the live Q&A portion of the webinar. If you have a question you'd like to ask, please do so now. Just click on the green Q&A button at the lower left of the presentation window. Type your question into the box that appears on your screen and click on the send button. We'll answer as many of your questions as we have time for. Let's get started. Our first question is, how do these sensors work?
Yeah, so we can't say too much about how they work, but at this point at least, what we can say is that these are non-invasive sensors, and we use a number of methods based on our team's expertise, whether it is through the use of responsive chemicals or cell-free enzyme systems, or including wholesale biosensors as well, depending on what type of target we're working with right now, and it varies, of course.
Can they connect to a phone?
Yeah, we get asked that a lot. Even though we're saying that these are electronics-free wearables, at the same time, we are building an app that is not a requirement for people to use, but it provides an enhanced experience for those who want to. And that's really important. Like, we don't want to make it a requirement and then have people who are normally more tech-savvy and like to do those things to be an intersection with people who care with what's going on in their body in general or the environment. We think we want to reach out to a wider user demographic beyond tech-savvy users who like to have, like me, gadgets strapped to their bodies 24/7. So again, there is an app, but it's optional, keeping adoption friction low.
Are these permanent tattoos?
No, not at all. These are temporary tattoo-like devices. So they're, strictly speaking, they're not temporary tattoos, but they can look like them. And they're definitely completely non-invasive. There are no microneedles. There's nothing that is going through your skin at all.
How long do they last?
They can last a few days, 4 to 5 days. I have one with me right now, and it's been on for 4 days so far, and so far so good.
Are they waterproof?
Yes, they are. And also, just to clarify a little bit on how long they last, it's even though they can last that long, it's more of how we designed them so that they make sense within a day versus 3 days versus more. So technically, we can make them last more than what we're designing for.
I would like to once again thank Carlos Olguin for his presentation. I would also like to thank LabRoots for making today's educational webcast possible. Before we go, I want to let everyone know that today's webcast will be available for on-demand viewing through August 25th, 2017. You will receive an email from LabRoots letting you know when this webcast will be available for replay. So share that announcement with your colleagues who may have missed today's live event. That's all for now. Thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again soon. Goodbye.